There are some very difficult journeys in life. Some may bring us to places we care not to visit. Others into relationships which we wish we didn't have to become involved in. The trip to support a struggling family member or friend. The arrangements for a face-to-face meeting to resolve differences that have occurred. The journey to say our final goodbye to someone we have loved. These challenging sojourns are a reality of our common humanity. If we consider the word journey, we often think of a trip away from where we are, rather than thinking of those trips inside. We consider a trip to another geographical point or orientation on the globe. But there are also trips that we need to take that are difficult, which require us to travel to remote locations of our hearts and our souls. These are coordinates we would rather avoid. Typically, these are the journeys that fall into the relational category. And the more we perceive the other in those relationships to be different from ourselves, the more problematic these journeys become. The season of Lent essentially calls us to take a journey that arrives at some very difficult coordinates: Jerusalem and the cross. And like the difficult journeys previously mentioned, Lent is one about relationships. The broken and disorienting relationships with God and the world community. Jesus continually walked in the most difficult of relational situations, exposing the chasm that was present between people perceived to be different from each other. That personal journey led Jesus to the cross as a result of the recurrent discomfort caused by his life and words of unconditional love and grace. With that knowledge, we will start our journey on Ash Wednesday. It will be a journey that brings us into some of those dark and dim places in our hearts and souls. We will have the help of a series of small group Lenten studies that will study the book, The Cross and the Lynching Tree by James Cone. This book will look at the deep recesses of racism that exist within our lives. We also will have adult seminars with guest speakers that will take us to some places as we hear about other world religions. Through our worship services, we will also journey together and consider passages that bring us to those locations, those coordinates that can be difficult to consider in our lives. My personal prayer is that we will also discover anew the reality of the cross and the victory of the empty tomb, living lives empowered by Christ's unconditional love and grace to bridge all chasms that separate us from God and from one another.